will go to the next topic. Dr. Mukesh Porwal. Everybody knows Dr. Mukesh Porwal. He is a very senior vitreoretinal surgeon in Rajkot, and at present he is president of Rajkot Ophthalmic Society. He has trained many fellows from abroad in vitreoretinal surgery, and I have been also very lucky. He was my mentor during my post graduation, and after that also I have learned medical retina from Dr. Mukesh, and he will be speaking on a very important topic for today's situation: tips to reduce the risk of COVID in our practice. Sir, please.
Yeah, thank you, Pooja, and thank you, Bhavnagar Ophthalmic Society. Thank you, Subnesh, for inviting me to this meeting. We have had 3 good retina talks, so I thought I'll be a little bit different. And next, please. Yeah, this is the COVID statistics from this morning. Okay, you have an all-time high of new cases, more than 24,000, and all-time high of death due to COVID in a single day, 610 yesterday in India. And India tomorrow is going to overtake, or today it's going to overtake Russia as number 3. Right now it is 4, but I'm sure by the evening today it is going to be number 3. So it is no small thing. It is not a joke. The only problem is we have had this for now 3 months or so. So we've got used to it. You know, we're just living with it without knowing what actually is to be done and how to get to the end of it. Next, please. Yeah, the main problem is this graph. If you see, it's going up and up. There is no peak in sight. All other countries have had their peaks and then they are coming down. The cases are slowly reducing, if not by much, at least by a little bit. But in India, the major worry is the peak is not yet reached, and we don't know when it will reach. Maybe in a month, maybe 15 days, maybe 2 months, we don't know at all. So that is the problem, you know, and everywhere in every city, Bhavnagar, Rajkot, Ahmedabad, not to say speak anything of that, and everywhere in India, you have cases piling up. Next, please. So that explains why we need this talk in a retina CME, because it is the need of the time and the hour. And COVID peak is not yet in sight. That is very worrying. And more so because retina practice is more at risk. We see patients for a longer time. The patients have a longer waiting period in our hospitals. The surgery lasts longer. So everything compounds the risk for retina patients. And the retina surgeons and retina hospitals. The other thing is, because it has been going on for some time, as I told you, it's familiarity or coronavirus. So now what? Previously we were more scared of it. Now we say it's okay. It's just familiarity breeds contempt, somebody rightly said. And 3 months has not reduced the cases. All this talk of summer reducing the cases, the heat, the immunity of Indians, BCG vaccine and all that, it doesn't seem to work. So I would say over caution is always better than under caution in this situation, because we never know what is going to happen tomorrow. Next, please. Okay, the disclaimer is nothing can eliminate the risk totally. There's no magic potion or magic formula, and we should aim to reduce the risk as much as we can. So I'll give you some pointers, some pictures, what we do. And many of us would be already doing it. It may not be new for many, but it is good to re-emphasize. Next, please. One question in everybody's mind is, can we make a difference? What will one hospital, one doctor, one person make such a big difference? Definitely. Every one of us will make a difference, because anyone can get COVID from anywhere. And the course is not predictable. We think, okay, we can get away with it. We're young, we are doctors, and we'll have access to everything. But it's not so simple. And we are not alone. We have family around, staff around, patients around. And if we get infected, then there is a high chance that someone or the other around us is going to get infected too, because we are not going to isolate or stay isolated for very long. So it is very important to break the COVID chain. and flatten the curve. The interesting part of the flattening the curve is we heard a lot of it 2 months ago. Now nobody talks of it because it's not coming down. So where is the question of flattening the curve? So need to protect yourself, everybody, and others as well. If we protect ourselves, then automatically we protect the others. So yes, as a single person, every one of us can make a huge difference. Next, please. There are a lot of protocols already available from various bodies, the AOS, the IMAs, the governments, and all that. So people are literally sick and tired of reading all that again and again. And many people have just turned a blind eye because now whatever you do, nothing seems to happen. The cases are going up and up. So we'll not go, next please. We'll not go into too much theoretical details, but I want to stress that there is a lot of gaps in our knowledge, attitude, and practice. We know a lot, but whether we recognize the fact and whether they put it into practice, whether we teach our staff, our family, and everybody the same thing or not. So unless you put it into practice, as Chekhov said, knowledge is of no use. Next, please. So my talk will focus on how you provide information to the public, to the patients and the staff, and what changes I have brought up in my OPD, my OT, and follow-ups. And I feel that we are more at risk from OPD than OT, though many people believe that it is the OT which is the most risky. But we see more patients in the OPD, we have more staff circulating, we spend more time in the OPD, and we are a little bit lax in the OPD. And I think that is a major resource for concern, at least for retina people who spend a lot of time with their patients. Next, please. Yeah, starting with info. This is very important that you stress for all the public around you the importance of all these 5 things. You know all of this, everybody knows, but the important part is to make them realize that it is important in every setting, every person, every family, every hospital. So it doesn't need much emphasizing mask, the distancing, the sanitization, and using the Arogya Setu app and protecting the senior citizen. But if you present it to them in a proper way, they will get more and more reinforced. The ideas will get more and more reinforced. So practically every patient of ours or every person in contact with us should have knowledge of this from our side, highlighting all these factors. Next, please. As soon as any patient takes an appointment, we generally send this to them in Gujarati also, highlighting the need for maintaining all this, the personal sanitization, distancing, and what they can expect when they come to the hospital. Because unless you tell it to them, they assume that it's another normal hospital visit. Next, please. Not only that, your staff has to be trained. And you cannot train the staff just by telling them you do this, because after some time they get bored of it, they forget it, or they're not interested. But this has to be put up on the walls of your hospital at every room practically, so that the staff has a checklist to follow. Because if there are 10 things to be done, you can easily miss 1 or 2. So everything has to be checked for practically every patient as much as possible. So you need a visual reminder of checking certain things, otherwise it goes out of your mind. You know, even if I have to list all that, I'm sure 1 or 2 I'll always miss at one particular point of time. Next, please. Yeah. So the screening for temperature is no longer all that important, but we anyway do it because it sends a message to the patient and the relatives. And obviously the screening is also for the relatives, not only the patients. Everybody who enters the hospital, including the staff, including the doctors, needs to undergo temperature check to reinforce the message that any fever is dangerous in this time. And you need tons and tons of sanitizers. You know, you have to buy gallons of them. A few small bottles will not do. Pulse oximeter is a good idea. We use that for screening the SpO2 in practically every patient and every relative. So, and also some barriers where the patients usually sit, and make sure that they are separated by some barriers and
Mukesh Porwar.
And this is very important because some of them are returning patients or on follow-ups. They assume that the protocol is going to be the same as it was before. It is not going to be. Next, please. Now, you have to stress any number of times to wear the mask properly. That is the only thing which is going to actually make a huge difference in bringing the cases down. If everybody wears a mask, 90% of the time, 90% of the cases are going to get controlled quickly. So we have made it a rule that anybody catches my staff with a mask like this in the right lower corner, down from his nose or mouth, will be punished. The person who takes the photograph will get a bonus, and the person who does not, who is caught like this, it will be deducted from his salary. And they are really make it a game-like thing and make it interesting so that everybody can make sure that they are following the orders properly for themselves and the others. Next, please. Some of this may look excessive to many doctors, but I think the time is right to do all this. I believe that it has to be a double layered clothing. Your regular dress or OT dress covered with a OT gown for the staff, and mask with a face shield. That is the primary thing. And for surgeons or for people who are going to go into the OT and spend a lot of extra time with the patients, then I would say N95 masks, eye shields or eye goggles, and full PPE kits. All of us wear gloves. It's very important. It's easy to say wash your hands frequently, but it is not possible. How many times will you wash your hands? And you may have multiple problems like access to water, access to this thing, how many time, because if you have to see patient, say 5 or 10 patients at a time, and all the staff, I'm sure they're not going to wash their hands frequently enough. So what we have done is created a staff duty roster. By rotation, one person supervises the Arabia Setu app, another one supervises the wearing of mask properly, another one supervises sanitization is done or not. Like sanitization means he sprays the sanitizer every few minutes into the hands of everybody, the patients, relatives, doctors, whoever is coming in his way, right? And whether the protection is worn properly or not, the face shields and the cover or the gloves and everything. Next, please. And one interesting thing we started doing last month was if the patient is accompanied by a youngster or a student or a kid or something, we involve them. We say, now this is your job. So your consultation will be free for your grandfather, and you have to do this. You tell me who is not doing properly. So they are occupied, they are happy to learn about it, and we are getting some help out of it. Now for the doctors, the bare minimum is on the left. OT dress, gloves, N95 mask, cap, shoe covers and socks under those footwear. And now on the right, sitting on that chair is the full PPE, which I use. And there is an N95 mask covered with a surgical 3-ply mask with a head cover, goggles, and practically covered from head to toe, almost no part exposed. Why this is important is some people say it's just hands and face is enough. True, most of the time that is enough, but this allows you to see your patients completely. You can spend more time. You can have less fear of contracting something. And if you see, there is a tower fan behind where I'm sitting. You have to have a table fan or a tower fan blowing air away from you towards the patient, not from the patients towards you. So that will disperse any particles coming from the patient's side towards, that will not allow you, them to reach you easily. And you have to keep the doors open, preferably, and the air conditioning should be put off, or the circulation should be less. So all this means that you need an extra source of ventilation, and this helps when you're wearing all this. And at one point of time, there was no PPE kits available. Then we had to do with disposable surgical gowns, like like it is seen in the central picture. At least 2 layers of clothing. Why I recommend 2 layers of clothing is I can dress with the OT dress from home, go there, cover it up. Otherwise, what you need to do is you have to change in the hospital. If you have a single layer of clothes, then you should not wear the same street clothes or home clothes in the hospital, and vice versa. Here, I can cover it up, remove the PPE or the surgical gown when I go back, and it's a little bit easier to follow, and it lasts longer. Whatever is tough to follow, you will not do it for a long time. Next, please. Yeah, protective shields are important. If you see this slit lamp, it has 2 protective shields, one large, one small, to breath shields. Easily, you can make them easily, or they are now readily available. Shields for indirect ophthalmoscope, as well as for the slit lamp, any number, any size, any material, probably you can do. Just you need a barrier of some sort. Next, please. Another interesting thing is the UV lights for disinfection. Some people like it, some people may not, but I believe it works not for disinfecting humans, but at least many objects, many things which we use in the hospital. So those 3 long towers you see on the left down is UV tower made by me with 2 UV lights, tube lights standing vertically on an IV set, IV stand. So it is easy to make. Just put the 2 tube lights together, and they can be taken into any room and kept on for any amount of time you want. And you can put it on and off as you wish. The other one on the right top shows UV cabinet, where there is a shutter which falls down in place when you don't open it, and you can leave objects inside that to get disinfected. And the lower right shows a small box made with a UV tube, which can sterilize small objects easily. And incidentally, this box is the Ozurdex box, actually, which I used to make this. Next, please. Yeah, for the OT, we have developed a new modification. The idea was given by Dr. Twinkle Shah. We carried it further, and we keep the mask of the patient on. Actually, we put a second mask over the patient's original mask. The second mask is a new, fresh 3-ply mask. And on top of that, we use this venti mask. This is a flexible mask which delivers oxygen to people under anesthesia. We do most of our surgeries under local. So what we have modified is from the inlet where the oxygen is supplied in the venti mask, we actually allow the expired air to come out and provide oxygen through a conventional nasal tube, which we use in all patients, otherwise also, not in this era, but all the time. So there is a oxygen. I think video will not run from there. So I will not be able to show the video, but there is a venti mask which blocks out the expired air and allows it to go only into this tube. And this tube is put into sodium hypochlorite solution. And the inspired air is getting oxygen through a separate tube in the nasal catheter under this mask. So the expired air is not contaminating the field of the surgery and the area around the surgery all that much. Maybe some part will leak out a little bit, but most of it will be segregated and will go into this tube. Next, please. And we made the retina surgery a true daycare surgery. The patient is admitted, operated, and discharged on the same day if he needs surgery. And we don't see the patient next day on follow-up or post-op. We just give instructions, ask the patient to call up a particular WhatsApp number. And it is important to have a very dedicated hospital WhatsApp number, not your number. It has to be somebody else's staffs who can manage this. Otherwise, you will get sick and tired of answering them. An interesting point I can add is that if you have to counsel patient on some diagnosis or some treatment, especially if they're VIPs and they're bent on spending time with you, then you see the patient, diagnose, and send the patient to another room in the same hospital, same floor maybe, where there is an intercom. You speak on intercom, and they can ask whatever they want. You can counsel them on intercom. And I don't encourage video calling, but if you're comfortable with it, you can do that also. But at least physical separation. And sometimes what happens is we tend to dispose of patients fast and they are not satisfied. So to avoid that, you can talk to them, but from another room. So my staff also does that. If the patient is very fussy, they say, okay, 15 minutes we are giving you, the phone is yours, you can sit there, have your coffee and talk to us, but not face to face. Next, please.
I'm sorry to interrupt. I think
Yeah.
we will have 3 to 4 minutes.
Yeah, 2 minutes, I'm finishing. Yeah. Okay. So we are all in the same storm, if not the same boat. So we need to learn from each other, support each other, and be prepared for everything. This is just a funny picture. I had one of a kind when my fellow is getting his certificate in these COVID times with all the PPE. So I thought it would be interesting. Even for this, we didn't relax the rules. Okay, next, please. So in summary, how do we reduce the risk of COVID? You cannot eliminate it completely, but you have to follow the simple precautions repeatedly and properly, even if they're very boring for your staff. Make it interesting. Play some games with them and make it interesting. If you are going to pay them a little bit more and all that, it's fine. But in the end, even if one staff gets it or you get it, everybody is going to suffer. The period of work is going to get lost, and there are a lot of protocols associated with it. In the end, it may be all okay, but for a month or so, it is going to be not so easy. So I'd emphasize on the 3 major things we can all do. Wear an N95 mask. Everybody says in the OPD, you don't need N95 and all that. Don't go by that. It's not going to work. See, you never know what it is. See, it's very simple logic. If you wear a simple mask, it is protecting others. If you wear an N95 mask, you are protecting others and yourself, both. And N95 mask without valve. That valves are stupid. You don't use them. Okay. If there is a valved mask, you put a 3-ply mask over the valved mask. If I see some smart patient wearing a valved mask, then they have to wear a regular mask over that. And wear gloves, please. Again, many people say you have to sanitize your hands, you don't wear gloves and all that. See, the chances of touching any object or your face is much less with gloves on than without gloves. So definitely you need to wear gloves, and you can sanitize any number of times. You will not get allergy due to the chemicals and the sanitizer and all those things. You may end up using more sanitizer, so what? And hands, you have to sanitize frequently every few minutes. Sometimes I spend more than 5 minutes with a patient. Then every 5 minutes, even between the consultation, we need to use sanitizers. Next, please. Yeah, today is Guru Purnima. So I have to pay my homage and respects to sir. He has taught me a lot, including what I've said today probably. Next, please. Dr. Nagpal, for those who don't know actually. So these are some of the points which I thought I'll show you pictorially. You know all the precautions to be taken, but we tend to be a little bit lax. As long as it is not in our immediate vicinity, we tend to forget about it. We tend to downplay it, but I don't think the time has come yet for that. In fact, we have to be more and more vigilant. So I would say take care of everything, especially those three things: masks, the gloves, and sanitization. And be safe, be secure. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. It was a very nice session, very good guidelines. And definitely today is Guru Purnima, so I will also not miss the chance to say pranam to you because you have been my guru. I think many of us who have joined this must be your students. So we say special thanks to you and pranam to
Thank
you,
you,
sir.
Pooja.
And sir, one thing I would like to add, as you said, these gloves, sanitization, all this, we try to follow good PPE. Definitely, it helps us to spend proper time with the patient for what they have come. We cannot just tell them to go out with a small.
And also, it reinforces the message. They understand the seriousness.
Yes,
Otherwise, if the doctor is not serious, how will the patient be serious?
Yes, and we also put one staff outside whose duty is to give masks to any person who is not
Exactly.
wearing
Yes.
a proper, just give them a proper mask. And
Yeah.
at the entry point, everyone should be given a sanitizer. Also, when they go out, so
Yes.
most of the time patients rush out. They don't wait for that. But we insist that even when you go out, you again sanitize your
Exactly.
hands.
Yes, that is right.
And during the OPD hours, we try to get it mopped with sodium hypochlorite 3 to 4 times a day, maybe after 1.5
Every
hours.
2 hours. Every 2 hours at least.
Yeah, and during the lunch session again, we try to get it
Yes.
clean. Also, the things which we dispose, biomedical waste, even in the OT and these masks, gloves, we keep it dipped in sodium hypochlorite before we give it to directly to the staff. In the
Oh,
morning
otherwise,
only-
at least you have to put it in a closed plastic bag,
Yeah.
and then let the people who are going to dispose it off. Don't
Yes.
keep it open. That's yes.
Yeah, and to put it in already solution of hypochlorite, and it's still to be a bit more safe for us.
Yeah, that is recommended, but sometimes difficult. If you have a PPE kit, then you'll know it is difficult to dip
Yes.
everything there, and you'll need huge drums of them.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And sir, one more instruction: we try to have a quiet OPD. Advise the patients not to speak too much because again it increases the aerosols. Try to keep all the exhausts on, exhaust fans
yeah,
on. That will
definitely.
again use
Yeah,
more
these
of
are all
that.
standard operating procedures. Yeah,
Yes, sir.
that I didn't include most of them because they are all well known, and I could not take pictures of all those. So
Sir, and
whatever I
want
could
to
show,
know-
I
Yes, sir,
put it
that
there.
face shield, you say face shield. Then being a retinal surgeon, almost all the time you have to wear that indirect ophthalmoscope. So doesn't that face
Yeah,
shield disturb
no,
you?
face shield only when you're not using the indirect ophthalmoscope or anything. But
Okay.
I use the full PPE kit, cover my face anyway. So on top of that, you don't need face shield, but that for
Yes.
the staff, it is important.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. For this, because sometimes they are communicating even more. They are spending more
Yeah.
time
Yeah,
outside.
for the staff,
OPD.
and also
Delicate.
you have to realize the staff comes close to us. We don't know
Yes,
their
sir.
background, where they live, what they do, how they meet people.
Yes.
So
So
every time you drill it into them that this is important, they will carry it, and at least some of it will last when they are not
Yes.
in the hospital also.
yes, sir. Repeated education. Every day we have to repeat.
Yes. Even
And
if you're bored of it, you have to do
we
it.
have to
That's
teach
why we
them.
have a rotation. If somebody brings a new point about COVID protection and all that, we reward them. And they get
That
500
is very,
rupees.
yes, sir. That is a very nice thing. Yes, sir, any role of X-ray test or COVID test? Are you getting that
See,
done?
if you suspect, then HRCT, X-ray chest is okay in some patients, but that is, I think, would be at a advanced stage. So HRCT has a role. If suppose you cannot get a COVID test done easily, or actually HRCT shows up patches in the lung even before the COVID test becomes positive. So if you suspect, and maybe for a patient you need to do surgery in 2 or 3 days, then you can get an HRCT done. We don't get it done usually that way, but that is an option which is there with us.
Not in all cataract cases.
No, not in all retina cases
Just
also.
a basic,
So cataract
just a-
cases, no question.
Just a basic history that will be helpful. And
Yeah.
morning time we screen, we do that thermal screening. That is
Yeah, and Arogya Setu app, they have to update in front of the staff because it gives a lot of information. So while they are waiting in the OPD, they can at least, even if they don't have time at home or they don't do it at home, here, if they are going to sit for 1 hour, what will they do? So at least read it. So once they have read it, they will understand what is needed. So the knowledge is increased, and maybe some of them would then take precautions adequately.
Thank you. Thank